Greetings, family. We are live. Welcome, everyone, to the Sister Shanice Show. Certainly hope that you are all well. Certainly hope that this show has been an absolutely awesome, fantastic one for you. Okay, who's going to be the first to hit us up in the chat? Okay, we've got some background noise going on there. So let's just make sure that everyone's got their devices on mute. So family, we're looking forward to another really interesting show this evening. There is just so much that we want to share with you, so much for us to talk about. And we're just going to give our audience a moment or two to come through the door. And as you do, please let us know where in the world that you are viewing us from. We, like to interact with you, our audience. And, we like to know where in the world you are. So, our audience is just joining us at the moment. I can see people are coming through the door. Let me just greet our wonderful panel and rise them up. Dr. Abu, how are you doing?
Vudum family, Vudum Sister Sheila, Queen Najah, Dr. John, and you, Sister Shanice, Vudum all the time. Vudum, good to see all of you. All of you, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Dr. Abu. Welcome. And we want to greet as well Sister Sheila. Welcome, Sister Sheila.
Vudum, it is yet another brilliant, strong. We are here, ready to have a wonderful show. Rise up, Dr. Abu, rise up, Dr. Lennon, and rise up, my sister Najah and Sister Shanice, of course. We are going to have a brilliant time, awakening our people and awakening ourselves. I give thanks.
Ashe. Greetings, Dr. John. Welcome. You're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Wonderful start. Yeah. Greetings to everybody. It's great to be here again. Thank you for having me. And greetings to all the audience as well.
Brilliant. And I'm running a little behind tonight, still sending out the notices to let people know that we are on and that we are live. Sister Najah, welcome. How are you doing, my sis?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Greetings to you, Sister Shanice. We're here for another wonderful show. Rise up to Dr. Abu, rise up my sister Sheila Shabet, and Dr. John Lennon. It's nice to see you again.
It is indeed. And, I think, I wonder if our people are having difficulty coming through the door. We normally have a lot more through the door by now. And it wouldn't surprise me, if they're experiencing some challenges. But we will press ahead regardless, because we know that our family will catch us on the replay. And so, family, there is just so much that, we have to talk about as a people, and there just aren't enough platforms really for us to have these conversations and for us to have these discussions. And so, we make the most of what is available to us. So today we've got a very interesting and a very important topic that we're going to be discussing. And I came across a quote, actually. Let me find that quote now. And, it's just so relevant for the topic that we've got today. And I hope you find this quote inspirational. It says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." Wow. And, that was just ringing so true as I was preparing for the show this evening. And as I was coming across, so much information that was just highlighting for me, the greatness of us as a people, the accomplishments, what we have actually contributed towards society, albeit that it's not recognized. I had to just, realize that particular quote is just so relevant for most of us. We are more powerful beyond measure. You know, most of us, I don't think, realize the fullness of our potential, the brilliance that is inside of us, the talent, and how fabulous we all are as a people. You know, how fantastic our ancestors are and the contributions that they have made towards society. So, you know, to ones and ones, you know, do not let your light hide in darkness. Don't be frightened by the skills and the talents that you have. I'm certainly hoping that by the end of the show today, you will want to ensure that you play your fullest part in society and that you don't shrink, you know, to make anyone else feel big. So huge amounts of work to be done. And now let's just very briefly ask the family just to, you know, give us some opening remarks. Dr. Abu, let's hear some opening remarks from you, my brother.
Well, first of all, give thanks to you for this wonderful platform, and give thanks to Sister Sheila and Sister Queen Naja and Dr. John to be part of the panel today, and give thanks to the family in the audience. You understand, you know? And we just give thanks for life in general, you know? Mm-hmm. Many of our friends that was with us yesterday, they are not with us today. So true. We are alive, and let us carry on. Let us carry on. As them said, we must try to leave this planet better than we come and see it. And I'm glad that we're talking about clean energy and all of these things, because that is what we want to do, to leave a better future for the next generation. Give thanks.
Yes, indeed, Dr. Abu. Rise up yourself. Thank you. And let's get some opening remarks from Sister Sheila.
I give thanks for once again being on this platform. It's becoming the highlight of my week or my strong. And I start by saying that over the last few years, 2 years to be precise, I've been very deliberate in where I channel my energy. And I've been focusing mainly on channeling my energy towards my people, towards the growth of my people, towards my own growth. And I have not veered, of course, until last week, actually on Sunday or Saturday, where I was invited to go to a particular show that I thought was for our people. What I did not understand, what I did not know, it was that it was open, the audience was open to everyone else. And some of the things that we say, especially on this show or in a show where we're amongst our people, it's on a different frequency, it's on a different vibration altogether. Because we, as melaninated people, we have got very high vibrations. Whereas people that are melanin recessive, they don't have high vibrations. Even their highest vibration cannot reach so far. Mm-hmm. So I went there with my high vibration because I knew this is a show for African people. So I was talking frequency and high vibration, only for me to be addressed by the audience who could talk in, to be addressed by the audience and being asked for proof, being asked for logic. And you know, when you're talking spirituality, you've gone beyond logic, you've gone above it. Mm-hmm. Logic is always trying to catch up. That is why they try to tell us things that we already know. Yeah. So the conversation did not go well because I decided if I'm in a black space, I am not going to be told some things, and I'm not going to sit there knowing that we have a black audience, hear me being told some things. It's like I'm in my own house and someone is coming to my own house to tell me things that I hear out there immediately I open the door. So the conversation, let us just say, you don't try to fight. In Kiswahili, we have a proverb. Maybe Najar will tell us what it means, but the proverb goes like this: usipishane na ndovu kunya utapasuka msamba. Basically, I'll let Najar explain what it means, but let's say it simply means don't brandish your toy guns at my grenade. Because when I unleash my grenade, your toy gun will not work anything. But the translation itself, Najal will translate for you. It is usipishane na ndovu kunya utapasuka msamba. So I give thanks that we have platforms like this, whereby we can come and speak and address our people. I know we'll be heard in the frequency and vibration that we need to be at all the time. I give so much thanks for this platform, for the audience, for everyone on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you too, Sister Sheila. Ashe, Asheo. I like that that African proverb or that saying. Yes, indeed. And let me go over to Niger for the interpretation of that. Rise up, Queen Niger. Take yourself off mute, my sis.
Greetings, 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 everybody. So, thank you, Sheila. I was on a different tangent altogether. I was going to talk about what had happened. Let me start there. This strong was wonderful. There is something which I did, and it called attention to we as Africans as well. In regards to the question was follow-up. On Friday last week, I was part of a group where we planted in one day over 2,100 tree seedlings.
Woo.
And over 1,000 of them were fruit trees.
Woo.
We did this in 6 schools. It was a long day. It was a very, very long day, as you can imagine. And when I stated this, there were questions asked about, okay, but what about maintenance? So what you said, Sister Shanice, is very, very true. Because you said that you brought out this quote which says that we are more afraid of what we can do. We are very, very, very afraid of what we can do, given the chance to do it. Now, so the maintenance we had, it's a very well thought out project because these trees and seedlings were planted in schools. And the students who planted them, each of them was told that they have a tree to take care of.
Yes.
Yes. So as they grow in the school, because they were given to the younger classes, they will grow with the trees.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, and this I think is something which can be duplicated right across Africa.
Yes.
I think it's something which can work. So I share that here for everybody who's listening. Go ahead and plant some trees. Give some kids some trees. Let them plant them and take care of them.
What a beautiful, beautiful initiative. And I certainly hope that a few people watching this video do actually decide to replicate that initiative, because I've been seeing some reports, through some videos about some deliberate attempts to cause food shortage and how, surplus food is being burnt rather than distributed globally. So there is a plan to reduce the amount of food that's available globally. And so now is the time for us to be planting trees. I mean, I'm one for collecting seeds. It's just a natural thing that I do. I don't know why. And, while I was out and about in the Gambia, I was, just planting all of these seeds. And it's so important, family, when you eat a good organic fruit, keep the seeds. Keep the seeds. There's going to come a time when seeds are going to be precious. There's going to come a time where food is going to be scarce. So do plant those trees now. Work with local schools on the continent, in the Caribbean. Plant trees everywhere. We see, militia group activity when they drive people out of the villages and where they don't have access to where maybe they originally planted their food. But we need to be in a situation where wherever we run to, wherever we go, there's food, because we have provided it, we have planted it, and we have made sure that food is available for our people should they need it. And remember, some of us may plant those trees and never eat from the fruits of those trees, but we will plant those trees knowing that there will be a generation, there will be a people who will be eating those fruits. Right now it's mango season in the Gambia, and if you see mango tree, Some of these trees look as though they're 30, 40 years old, and they have thousands upon thousands of mangoes on them. And you can eat mango till you can't eat mango no more. And I know that the likelihood is that those hands that planted those trees are no longer with us, but we, this generation, is eating the fruits thereof. And so plant, my people, plant. Let's welcome our brother Dr. John and ask him for some opening remarks, and then we're going to greet everyone who's coming through the door. Those of you who are in the audience, please let us know where you're watching us from. We want to know whether, what parts of the world we're actually reaching. We have our people all over the world. So please let us know where you are watching us from. Dr. John, welcome.
Yeah, greetings from Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Hey.
Today I heard a video from a brother in Africa, and he was lamenting about our people. And he was saying that we do a lot of talking at the moment, but all the talk that we do doesn't really amount to much. That now's the time that we have to have solutions. We need to put solutions on the table. So I'm hoping that from this point forward, we do put solutions on the table, because right now the EU, they're in negotiations about trying to invest in Africa in renewable energy. And we all know if they go into Africa with renewable energy, it's not to benefit the people. It's only to benefit themselves. So these are the things we have to talk about and try and make sure that these don't happen to us, because we've been exploited once before. Well, we're still being exploited, and it's time for this to finish now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John Lennon. Time for solutions and time for action. Absolutely agree with you, my brother. That's why, these conversations are so important, because from these conversations, it changes the mindset and it leads to action. While it's at the forefront of my mind and I talk about action, I just want to rise up the spirit of our brother, Melanik Shabazz, a brother who has gone on to the ancestors. This time last strong, he was with us, but today he's not. And he was a man of action, a filmmaker, born in Barbados, grew up here in the UKKK. And, despite his brilliance as a filmmaker, a director, a producer, a storyteller, a scriptwriter, it was incredibly difficult for him to get the finances that he needed in order to make his films, because, at the heart of his stories was our community. He was telling us, talking about and presenting our culture and our stories through his films. Some fantastic films like Burning Illusion, Blood I Go On, some wonderful movies. And just like you were saying last strong, Sheila, he didn't wait for permission to do those movies. He didn't wait until he had those finances to do those movies. He didn't wait until, the authorities and the powers that be gave him, the endorsement to do those movies. He went ahead and did it. And without the support of the mainstream, and by calling on the community for financial support and help with marketing and promotion, he made documentaries after documentary, made a feature, and he was in the process of making another feature movie as well in Zimbabwe when he passed. And let me tell you this, all of the mainstream, the Channel 4s, the BBC, the Guardian newspaper, all the film sectors had to bow to him, had to bow and acknowledge his brilliance, that he managed to accomplish without their help and support. So family, we as a people have so much talent, and we don't need to wait for permission, and we don't need to wait for the finances. We have just got to do like Queen Najee and her tree planting initiative. It's about doing the work. So today, we're going to be having a conversation which I'm hoping is going to inspire our people to do the doing. Okay, let's quickly go over to the audience and welcome our audience. Audience, we welcome you from wherever you are in the world watching us. We've got Bryant here, and rise yourself up, Bryant. We've got Montu watching us from Ghana. Rise up, rise up. We are expecting our brother Kwame from Ghana, but he did warn me that he's likely to be having some internet challenges because he's way in the village today. But he may still hopefully be joining us. And we've got Montu. Okay, yes, welcomed you in conversation already in the chat. And Kimani is saying was very surprised to hear of the passing, yes, of our brother. It was a shock, totally unexpected. You know, he was a little unwell, but hadn't been seriously unwell, you know, and unfortunately went into the hospital and never came out. So very, very, you know, sad loss and a big loss to our community. Our brother Melanik Shabazz was in the process of doing a film to do with our ancestors and reawakening the spirits of our ancestors in Zimbabwe. It was going to be a powerful movie. He was halfway through it, but the team are going to do the best to finish it. So let's see who else we've got in the chat. We've got the Diaspora channel in the chat. Rise up, my queen, long time. We've got my sister Joan in the chat. Welcome, sister Joan. Glad to know you're in the audience watching us from the UKKK. We've got Haran in the house. We've got sister Afrijamo in the house saying, I'm eating enough mangoes every day in Ghana. Hey, hey. Yeah, man, we know that one day. And the mango, them sweet like honey too. Hey, we've got Wando watching us from Paris. Rise up, Wando. And we've got Sim saying greetings to my neighbor, Dr. John Lennon. We've got Kimani from Birmingham. We've got the young Sierra Leonean in the house. Richmond. Oh, rise up, family. Lady V watching us from the Gambia as well. Oh, greetings, one and all. Greetings, family. Please do continue to let us know where you're watching us from. Use the chat for your comments, your views and opinions, and we will bring them in throughout the show. We've got Ubuntu in the house, Grand Rising Warrior Queen Shanice, and the esteemed panel, Voodoo, saying, I really have to say how extra royal you're looking tonight. Tops, lots. Hey, this was made by Katim, my tailor in the Gambia. I have to big him up. And, you know, he also runs a very small training school and he would like our help and assistance to grow that training school. So we're going to do what we can to help our brother to grow his training school from 3 tables to at least 10 and then 20. Okay, family? I'm going to work out a certificated training program with a young group of tailors worthy of our support. Yeah, so let's try and help and support where we can. Looks as though our brother Kwame Gonza has managed to join us. Oh, well, not in the pictures yet. I'll bring him back as soon as he's in the frame. Rise up, family. And also Anthony, who's watching us from Wembley. Okay. All righty. Family. Let's go into the topic for discussion today. And oops, I've just seen Kwame quickly sit down. Let's just welcome Kwame. Then we're going to go into the topic. There's lots to talk about. Welcome, brother Kwame. I'm so glad you've managed to log in. Greetings.
Thank you. Greetings, Sister Shanice, and thank you, everyone on the panel. I just want to thank our listener, the people watching us. Yes, our audience. We always want to thank the Creator and for the opportunity to be here. Yourself, we want to thank you for providing this opportunity for us to come and contribute to the liberation of our people all over the world, African people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother Kwame Gonza. Thank you so much. All right, so if we all put our phones on mute, we're going to go into the topic for discussion today, which is going to be, for the first part, focusing on renewable energies. Because as we started on this topic last strong, You know, renewable energies, clean energy, the sun that we have in abundance in Africa and the Caribbean, you know, can actually transform, you know, the amount of supply that we have on the continent. We all know about the blackouts that we regularly have on the continent and in the Caribbean. We know the high costs of the energy that we're using at the moment. The schools, you know, sometimes are in darkness because they can't afford the energy supplies. The hospitals can't afford to run their machinery and their equipment and provide the range of services that they need to because of the high cost of electricity. You know, our roads and streets are in darkness when they could be well lit up if we was using sun energy, if we was using wind energy. And we also know that, you know, in the Caribbean on the continent, because of outside interference as well, you know, there's a lot of restrictions that's been placed on the continent, you know, by those outside forces through institutions like the World Bank and the IMF, who seem to be, you know, working against, you know, we know the politics of it, but we're exposing it for what it is, you know, that are impeding the growth and the development and the potential for technological advances on the continent and the Caribbean, you know, by imposing their restrictive policies on the basis of the loans that these countries are taking from them. Well, we're, you know, exposing the devils for what they are. We're going to be having the contribution of a discussion and contribution from the panel members on this topic today. And to open up the debate, we're going to be looking at the particular issues impacting on Jamaica, because it's not unique to Jamaica. And we'd like to invite our brother, John Lennon, to open up the discussion on this debate for us today. Come in, brother Dr. John.
Thank you, sister. Well, I think everybody knows about renewable energy and that it's green, but a lot of people just do not know about the economic benefits of it. Now, if you talk to a poor person and you start telling him about climate change and the 50-degree temperatures that they're experiencing in Canada, the poor person is not going to relate to that. He's not going to engage with you. But if you tell him that solar energy can deliver cheaper electricity, can have his streets properly lit, it can deliver free and better funded education, and then whilst you're doing all of that, provide hundreds of jobs, he will engage with you. But with the current dialogue that we're getting from the mainstream news media, the viability is completely ignored. And so it doesn't get any traction in Jamaica. So the Jamaican people just do not know about the economic benefits of having solar energy. So I think last week I was saying about, well, how viable is it? And over here, if you invest today, in 4 years' time, you will be making money. Now that's an incredible investment. I mean, that is, you say, an investor's dream. Now, if it's under 4 years in Jamaica, it's actually between 6 and 8 years in America. Now, America's a rich country that produces oil. And so if it's 6 to 8 years in America, just think how low it can be in other countries and in Africa, those that are importing. So just like in Jamaica, it must be under 6 years in all of these countries. So in my opinion, our governments should be using the people's money now to invest in our infrastructure with renewables. And that way we will remove ourselves from the dependency that we have at the moment from the colonizers. And then we also have now the Chinese. They're heavily involved. Here in Jamaica, I think they're going to take over our solid waste management. So these are the things that we have to look at and make sure that they do not happen. Now, because the viability isn't reported, that's why these companies and the countries the West can come into our countries. And under the guise, they can pretend, yes, climate change, so we're doing you a favor by putting in the infrastructure. But they're not doing us a favor. What they're doing is going to put in the infrastructure, and they are going to own the infrastructure, and we are going to still be dependent on them, and they're going to be making money. Now, this is infrastructure that we can buy off the shelf and put it in ourselves. Mm-hmm. So all we're talking about is finding the money to do it, and you can find the money to do it. If the returns are so great, every investor will look and will give you the money if you decide to go and look for it. But I don't think that the people actually understand the power of the sun and what it can deliver. Now, if you go back in history and look at Britain, now Britain became rich based on the Industrial Revolution, and that was from coal. Now, coal isn't, okay, you find coal, but it's not free, is it? In the sense that you have to go, you have to mine it, so you have to pay people, you have to build infrastructure to get it out of the ground, then you have to transport it. And so they got rich based on having an industry based on coal. Now, if you look at Africa, we have the sun, and the Caribbean, the sun, we just have the sun. And all you need to do then is just buy the solar panels and all the infrastructure, put it in. And once you put it in, you've got energy, you've got more or less free energy. So we could have our industrial revolution based on sunshine and wind. That would mean that certain things that don't apply to us anymore. If somebody goes on strike because they don't like the payment that they're getting from the energy company, that doesn't affect us, because the sun's always going to be shining. Oil prices won't affect us because the sun's going to be shining, the wind's going to be blowing. These things are not going to affect us. So we know that if the rate is $1 per kilowatt hour, it's going to stay at $1 per kilowatt hour. What's going to change it? So you'll know that you've got a definite price, you know that you can set up your infrastructure. And so you can be, and we can also have then our goods produced in our countries now. So we can have wind and solar powered factories. So these companies now would be more competitive than the ones in the West, because the ones in the West are going to be using fossil fuel to power their factories, while the ones in Jamaica and the Caribbean and Africa, they're going to be using wind and solar. The other thing is, in our regions as well, the minimum wage is much lower than in the West. So I gave an example last week, and the minimum wage here is, call it around about, it's just under €1. And whereas if you go to Italy, it's like €7. And you're thinking that we are actually importing goods from Italy to this country. It makes no sense. We could actually make these goods here. And once you make them here and make them paying a living wage, so we're not saying about paying €1 anymore. We can easily pay 3 or 4 euros in Jamaica, pay a living wage, and make these goods and make them cheaper. So we have things like you just mentioned, food shortages. We have the same thing in Jamaica, where we have a lot of food waste because of the heat. Now, when you have excess produce, if you have the factories in the country that can process it, then you just take it there and process it. At the same time, again, you've got jobs in these factories, and people might say, well, they're not high-tech jobs. But at the moment, you walk into Jamaica, if you walk into Montego Bay now, you can't move on the pavement because there's so many people out there now having to hustle every day to make $1. They're uneducated. And these are the people who, with no skills, can easily move into these jobs of the mass production. So again, so you're creating jobs at the same time. You've got your food security, and the price of the goods will also come down as well. And say in Africa, where we have, I think it's the Ivory Coast, I think is one of the biggest producers of chocolate. Well, they just ship out their cocoa in its raw form. Well, you can add value if you have solar powered factories in Africa, then you can do whatever you want to do with it. You can make the chocolate. And when the West turns around and says, well, we want to buy your cocoa, you can tell them, no, we don't need, we are setting the price. Now, we're not selling you cocoa anymore. We're going to sell you cocoa powder, which has more value. And so the farmers will get more. So these are the things that just by a simple thing of deciding that we can use the sun will completely change our economies. And the other thing, again, I said in Jamaica, where our schools are all on the grid and they're paying astronomical amount for electricity. Again, as you take them off the grid, all that money stays within education, and you've got free and better funded education. And we all know the value of education. That's what builds a nation. And so I'm sure there's other industries that we can do as well. And I remember that Sister Sheila, she mentioned waste to energy. So I'm going to stop talking at this point. So I'm just asking Sister Sheila if she can remind us about waste to energy. Is it in Kenya, Sister Sheila?
Thank you, Dr. John. Yes, for that opening there. And we're actually hoping to have a sister join us a little later in the show as well, thanks to Sis Najer, who's going to be talking about an initiative of hers that uses waste to actually create energy. You know, so Sister Sheila, yes, you and Queen Najer last strong was talking about it, and we're going to have, you know, an example of it all being well in the show today. Sister Sheila, wow, Brother John said a lot in his opening there, you know, about the huge potential for clean energy to be industrialized in Africa and the Caribbean. Let me go over to you for you to continue the discussion on this, my sis.
I give thanks, and I start by saying that we also have to know that we are an African people, and we have an African continent, and we have Caribbean as well, which is an African continent. And we have to know that the model that works for the Western people is not necessarily a model that will work for us. And I speak with this capitalistic system in mind that is very heavily based on paper money and their economy as well. Capitalism is their game. They set the rules, they set everything to it, and it sometimes is very low vibrational, because it's a game that says the winner takes it all. And if the winner can manage to squash on others so that he can take it all, capitalism is very okay with that. Mm-hmm. And still with capitalism, it says you can rape the environment. You can destroy the environment to get what it is that you want. It's all about money and how much money you make for yourself. So when we're talking about clean energy, when we're talking about energy, when we're talking about getting anything from nature, we have to make sure it is in line with nature. It is not something that is in line with how much money we are going to make. It is not something that makes us compete with the West. We should not compete with the West. We should not, because the whole framework, the whole premise of the West is against what is in our nature. Everything that the West has done goes against nature, and it has destroyed our planet. That is why we are having these heavily chemicalized foods. That is why we are having these chemtrails in the air. That's why we are having this poisoned water. That is why we are having these GMO foods. It is because the West is very much, that is the framework of capitalism. So when we as an African people want to do anything for ourselves, by all means, we need to break this dependency we have towards the West, because this dependency is not a dependency that empowers us. It's a dependency that disempowers us. We are the ones who jump at their tune. But we don't have to think of usurping them, whereby we're saying we have to be on top of them. We just have to come with our own model, a model that works for us, in line with our nature, in line with the people that we are, even if this model takes us away from the framework that's already there. So we have to be very careful not to fit in within what they're saying. For example, cocoa, that Dr. Lennon said we export. This cocoa, how we grow it, is it very conducive to our environment? Is it conducive to our waterways? Is it conducive to our soil? Is it something that we grow and we still manage to eat? Or is this one thing that we cannot eat until we sell it? Does it use a lot of herbicides? Does it use a lot of pesticides? Do our people have to break their backs to grow this cocoa? Do we have to depend on them to get business? As in, can it be sold to our own people and can they eat it? And do we really need to have these cash crops, or is it enough for us to just have food for our own people and to exchange with our own people? As in, we have to stop thinking in terms of capitalism. And as I do share a story, as you know, I like stories. My phone went for software. You know, when it tells you there's a software upgrade, I don't know why they do it. They keep coming up and they say software upgrade. And when you press it, sometimes your phone dies. So my phone died the better part of Saturday. It could not turn on. And so I reached somewhere, I was trying to turn on, and I reached somewhere and I said, you know what, I'm just going to let it do its thing. So I did other things, got busy, did everything. I was completely cut out. It was a break that I needed, great break. And by the time I came back, by the time the phone turned on itself, almost after 24 hours, it turned on. Then I sat down and I realized, you know what, sometimes when we get too industrialized, like sometimes when we say we are having this access to energy, access to electricity, is that really a good thing? Sometimes we have to ask, is that a good thing for us Africans? Because if you look in the village, for example, if you look at the life of Kenyan village, for example, they have their 8 hours sleep or 12 hours sleep. Because there is no electricity to keep them awake at night, because there is no TV to watch, because there's no electricity to program, there's no programming that's happening to them. So they live according to the circadian rhythm of the earth. When the light is up, they wake up. When the light is down, they sleep. So we, looking at it with a capitalistic eyes, see that they are poor because they have no electricity. They don't have life. They don't have light 24 hours of the time. But we are the ones on sleeping tablets. We are the ones with insomnia. We are the ones doing 10 jobs because you can work around the clock. So who has the problem here? We're the ones with the problem. But because of our mindset, we've been told to think it, that we must have those things that the West has said, this is the mark of development, so we must have it. So I bring now something like piped water. Piped water is something that we are told, we must bring water to our houses. It's good to have piped water in our houses. Whereas before, we used to have houses, our water used to come from the rain. The rain, we had trees, and when it rained, we fetched our water. Our water used to come from the river. Our water used to come from the well. And we used to gather this water and we'll put it in the pot, in earthen pots that had been made specifically specific clay and had been put some things in it. So the water was fully alkaline. Now we are taking water that has a lot of fluoride in it, a lot of other chemicals, I don't know what they are, that are affecting our pineal glands. And we're paying bills on top of it. We now have to buy purifiers, and I don't know, we have to buy this and buy this and buy that. And now some of us have water, like in Nairobi, Najar can bear me witness, you cannot drink tap water. You cannot even brush your teeth with tap water because it will give you gastroenteritis, and that is a disease that has no shame. Because the things that will come out of you, they will come out of you in public, in the presence of everyone else. So you do not drink water in Nairobi, but you pay the water bill. So you see, but then we'll say it's because they have energy. So sometimes when we are talking about this green energy, we have to come with an African model of it, one that sustains the African lifestyle. And I'm not talking about the Western lifestyle that is being put in Africa, whereby we are creating jobs that people that are so free now, that are eating from nature, they now have to work from 9 to 5 days a week, or as it is, from 9 to 9, 7 days a week. So for peace, they're exchanging their energy, their life force, for some piece of paper. Basically, whatever energy we are coming up with, we should not buy into capitalism. It is a Western thing. It is anti-nature, and anything that's anti-nature is anti-African. So even when we are looking at energy, it should not be with the mind of, we are going to make more money from this. We are going to build more industries. We are going to give people work. No, we need to walk away from this employment. We need to walk away from the plantation. We should not say, let us now build our own plantations. Let us be the bosses of our own plantations. We should say, let's burn the plantations. They have no place here. We are free people. So as we talk about energy, it has to be looked at in a holistic manner, whereby we are looking at it from the spiritual angle, from the emotional angle, from the mental angle, from the physical angle, from the financial angle, from all angles. Not only like the West is doing this and they did this, we can do better with this and this. No, we should not compete in the West. We should not partake anything that has worked for the West, because what has worked for the West, it has consistently shown us that it has been against us. What has worked for the West has been on our backs. It has been breaking our backs to work for them. So let us not break our own backs for something to work for us. Let us just not break our backs. Let things work for us, not at the expense of our backs. So yes, we can get energy, clean energy for us. We can break that dependency, but it has to come in a way that it heals us, in a way that it liberates us. Not in a way that it imprisons us to our own people. We shouldn't be imprisoned at all. Not by the oppressor, not by our own people. I give thanks.
We give thanks to you, Sister Sheila, as well. You know, we hear what you're saying. We need a totally new perspective, an African-centered perspective, you know, on industry, on agriculture, on absolutely everything that we as Africans, you know, want to be doing, creating, innovating for the future. It's not just about replicating what already is. It's largely not in the interest of nature. I can agree with that. I've got a quote here that I came across again this strong, and I wanted to bring it in. And apparently this was said by President Jacques Chirac. And the quote goes like this. It says that we bled Africa for 4.5 centuries. We looted their raw materials. Then we told lies that the Africans are good for nothing. In the name of religion, we destroyed their culture. And after being made rich at their expense, we now steal their brains through miseducation and propaganda to prevent them from enacting Black retribution against us. You know, so, you know, even from that statement, it's clear, you know, that they acknowledge precisely what they've been doing to us, even though they refuse to apologize. They acknowledge what they're continuing to do, continuing to loot our raw materials, continuing, you know, to even extract our most intelligent, our brains and our ideas for their own personal wealth and development. Well, as my sister is saying, it's time we started using our brains now to develop our continent and to think about what is in the best interest of the environment. When we ruled as a people, when we ruled, we ruled in one with the environment. We were at one with the animal kingdom. We were at one with the insect kingdom. We were at one with the marine life. You know, the entire planet benefited from us ruling. You know, the environment was clean. The rivers were clean. You know, everything prospered. We all prospered. And that's why, you know, us getting back into our right mind and into our rightful position is so critical during this time, because the entire planet, is waiting for us as a people to get back into our rightful position. As we can see, the planet is being destroyed. The marine life is being destroyed. It's been flooded with plastic and poisons. You know, the trees are being cut down. The environment is suffering. The water, as we've heard, you know, it's being polluted. You know, we're raping our people. The capitalism is raping the environment. We have got to get back into our rightful position sooner rather than later, before this entire planet, you know, is destroyed at the hands of the capitalists. Anyway, let me continue to go around our panel, because our panel members have so much to contribute to this discussion. Let's bring in our young brother Kwanzaa. I see him dropping in and out, so let's grab him while he's here with us. Brother Kwame, rise up, rise up. Let's bring you into the discussion.
Rise up, Sister Shanice. Rise up to you. Rise up to the panel, Dr. Abu, Sheila, Naja, Dr. John Lennon, and everyone who's watching us, our audience. We want to thank you for always turning up to support and to listen to us as we build a new nation for Africa. As you were starting to speak, Sister Shanice, you spoke about 3 things which came to my mind. There's 3 things which I picked out of what you spoke of. Renewable energy, and then the global institutions, the Bretton Woods institutions, and then ourselves as a people. When we talk of renewable energy, of course, this is what everyone understands, that is the new engine that is going to power the next industrialization, in what the writer and strategist national strategist called Jeremy Rifkin called in his book, The Third Industrial Revolution. So the Third Industrial Revolution, we know that all civilizations definitely have developed because of industrialization. We can talk of Britain, we can talk of the United States, now we can talk of the, we can talk of China and the other, powerful nations that have developed. So that is the clean energy. But this next industrialization that is coming in the third industrial revolution is supposed to be powered by this clean energy. Of course, you can throw in is there's a mix. The energy, the clean energy has renewable or clean energy has a mix. We can talk of solar, we can talk of wind, we can talk of nuclear energy to some extent, thermal energy, biomass, and all this. So this is what came to my mind. And then there is the second one, which you spoke about. You spoke about the institutions that are holding us back. Because we have all these energy, we have all these forms of energy, but we also have an enemy who's holding us back from implementing some of these things, most of these things actually. And we have to recognize that that is an enemy which we have to deal with, and we have to face that challenge squarely. And that enemy is in the form of what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah called the neo-colonialism. And he wrote about it. He called in a book which he called the neo-colonialism, the last stage of imperialism. He called this the last stage of imperialism in 1965 because he realized that as time has gone on, as time will go on, imperialism, which has been mostly Western imperialism, because these have been our greatest enemies as African people all around the world, it will be weakened over time. So he wrote down a book and he said, neo-colonialism, which is coming, which is the new colonialism. Because we have to understand that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is the one who brought us in, who brought Africa into, independence from colonialism. So he immediately was able to recognize that there's a new colonialism coming, and he called it neo-colonialism. And he wrote down, fortunately for him, he wrote down everything for us and what we are supposed to do as an African people. And he did not, when Nkrumah was talking about African people, he did not only talk about the people who are on the continent. When you remember his some of his quotes, he said, "I'm not an African because I was born in Africa. I'm an African because Africa was born in me." Can you hear me, Sister Shanice?
Yes, we're hearing you. Yes, we are. Are you hearing us?
Sister Shanice, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you not hear us, Brother Kwame? Yeah, we're hearing you. Okay, we seem to be having a...
Excellent. So, yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now, Sister Shanice.
Yeah, carry on. I think there's a bit of a delay. Please carry on, Brother Kwame.
So now one of the other things which Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said was, thank you. One of the things which Dr. Kwame Nkrumah also said is that all people of African descent, all people of African descent, whether they live in North or South America, all people of African descent belong to the African nation. So that brings us to that brings us to the understanding that we, the people on the continent, and the countries of the Caribbean, Jamaica, Barbados, and all these, we have to understand that we are African people, and we have to understand who our enemy is. Once we have understood ourselves and the task at hand, that we are confronting an enemy who is stopping us from using these resources which we have. And we are talking about the renewable energy now, because that is what is on the table. That's the discussion today. We have these resources, but we are not using them. Okay, our industrialization since the 1970s, when the independence movement of leaders was thrown out. During the 70s, we had an industrialization level. When we talk of industrialization, we are talking of our share of industrialization internationally around the world. We had 5%, but that industrialization has gone down. When you look at it, that industrialization level has gone down when you compare it to today. Today, our industrialization level is around 3%, as a share of the total global industrialization level. Why is this? Because they stationed Africa in such a way that they want to exploit out raw materials and take and industrialize their nations. And these are the reasons. So when you spoke of when you were starting your conversation, Sister Shanice, those are the three things I picked out. The renewable energy itself, which we have. Now we have the problem which is standing in our way, and we the people, the African people all around the world. We can talk all we want. We have everything. Our efforts, we are doing what we can. And we have studied all the scholars. We have our scholars who have warned us on what to do and not what to do. We can talk of people like Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson from the United States. He tells us that our share of the global GDP in the world is less than 1%. As African people, you can add all the blacks in Brazil, you can add all the African Americans, Jamaica and all Africa. Our share of global GDP is less than 1%. So one of the things he said that we don't have enough resources to compete with these people at this scale. That is why you see that they continue coming into Africa and bullying and doing and pushing our leaders to do whatever they want. So what do we do in this instance? Still, we have to go back to the lessons, the same lessons which our great forefathers stood, because these lessons have been abandoned. The lessons of our forefathers have been abandoned. The lessons of Marcus Garvey, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, these lessons have been abandoned by this generation of leaders which is existence today. The leaders who came after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his generation, they abandoned the ideas of our forefathers who loved Africa and had Africa at heart. We have to strengthen Africa before it can be able to compete. So we can talk whatever we want. The resources will continue to flow out of the continent and they go to benefit outside. They will come here and bully. They will come even to the Sahara and put up solar panels and harvest the energy and send it to Europe and use it in Europe. Because we are not unified, because we are still talking in terms of small states, which are weak. They cannot do anything. So the bullying will continue. That is the problem which we are facing now. Until we squarely face the issue of African unity and work consistently over time until we achieve this united Africa, I think we can talk of renewable energy and industrialization and all these things. We can't achieve them if we don't face the issue of African unity squarely. Because African unity is what will give us the guarantee of stopping the people who want to exploit us, the people who are standing in our way of achieving the industrialization and the use of our resources. And mostly, these people have been the imperialists. So I will stop there for now, Sister Shanice, and give a chance to another person to speak, and I'll come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Kwame. Rise up, rise up. You know, in all the discussion that we have in terms of, you know, the need for our development in a particular sector, we hear you loud and clear. We must not lose sight of the bigger picture and the important overarching strategy, which has to be the work that goes on towards our collective unity, you know, as a United States of Africa. And I feel that ought to include the African islands as well, of the Caribbean. You know, we have to be working towards our unity, working towards the United States of Africa, so that we can move forward as one. Because those of you who were with us a couple of strongs ago, you would have heard our sister Sheila talk about the bullies and how the bullies will continue to try and intimidate the weak ones, you know, and the only way to fight a bully is to all come together and fight as one. And that is exactly what small African countries and nations need to do. And come together as one to fight against the bullies. Otherwise, you know, as our brother was saying, our efforts, you know, to nationalize, to take back our land, to use our minerals and resources for our own purposes, to focus on our needs as Africa, all of those efforts will continue to be thwarted by those on the outside, you know, who are determined to try and undermine our efforts for growth and development at every step of the way. We hear you loud and clear on that, Brother Kwame. Absolutely essential that we do not lose sight of the bigger picture, which is to protect the continent and to work together as one. And as our sister Sheila was saying as well, to make sure that we review the capitalist approach and we actually look at our needs first and foremost. So let's go over to Queen Najah so that we can have your input on this, my sis.
Thank you to the panel. This is such an interesting conversation. I want to give thanks to Dr. John Lennon, and I want to add on to something which he has brought up, which is very important, and that we need to look at in each of our individual countries, because sometimes when we hear of a situation like, for example, from his home country, we assume that it is just happening in that one country, but actually it is not. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that when the EU and when Americans, when they talk about that Africa is the future for investments, and that we are, how many billions? Is it 3 billion? Going to 3.5 now? Okay. They are not talking about us.
That's right.
They're talking about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It is a coding. What they are saying is that, listen here, everybody, we have a place where we can sell our rubbish. We have 3 million people in one space, and we can sell things to them on that continent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we can invest in that continent. So if one person, say for example, you have an investor, and this investor is coming all the way from, let me just read this for you, and then you'll understand what I'm saying. A Portuguese off-grid energy company says that it targets selling solar-based renewable power to 45,000, that's 45,000 households in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Portuguese base selling power to 45,000 households in where? Kenya. So what Dr. Lennon said is true, but we're not thinking about it. We are just thinking, okay, these guys, they have all this renewable power. It's good for us to have renewable energy sources. Yes, I have solar power. Excuse me, who are you making richer? Like Sheila said as well, who are you giving your money to? You're not giving it back. It's your son. It's not their son. It's your son. It's heating down on your continent, in your space. And yet they're coming here and they're doing what? They are making money off it. Now, let me tell you how intricate this is and how involving it is. And I'll use the same company. Okay. This company, which operates in Kenya as, I won't say the name of it, okay, I don't want to be sued, said it acquired the Kenya sites from a Seattle. Wait a minute, where's Seattle? Seattle is over on the other side of the world, somewhere in America. Okay, so this Portuguese company acquired the Kenyan sites from a Seattle-based investment fund founded by Microsoft co-founder. You can go and Google who this Microsoft co-founder is, okay? Again, I'm not going to drop any names here. I don't want this site to be sued, okay? But they got the money from a Seattle-based investment fund founded by a Microsoft co-founder, okay? Now, all these sites and are in Kenya. They're Marsabit, Turkana, Kajiado, Nakuru, and Migori. Now, these are places where we get sun. Is it 12 hours, sometimes 13 hours, okay? Now, this is what they say. The acquisition puts us well, acquisition of sites, land sites, puts us well on our way to operating 50 more sites, 50. These are people who are Portuguese. They're not African. Okay. Now, you're all thinking, oh, this doesn't cost a lot of money. So they're talking about $20 million over here. $20 million. They're getting this off from us. So we need to think about what is going on. You know, we might just be sitting over here saying, oh, yes, it's good to get renewable energy. But like Dr. Lemon said, where is it coming from? Like Sheila said, who is funding who? We are sitting over here saying, yes, it's good to get renewable energy, but we're not doing it ourselves. It's people coming in. Our government is letting all these different entities come in and sell us their structures. And it's our sun. It's our renewable energy. Come on, people, wake up. Okay, I'm Naja and I'm complete.
Thank you so much, my sis. You're absolutely right. You know, as Africans, we are seen as, you know, just a marketplace for the Western world to sell their products to. They're seeing, you know, our population, 2 billion people, as a potential source of income for them. And they are busily, strategically positioning themselves all over the continent. You know, even in the Gambia, the internet service provider that I was using, I got talking to the engineers, and they were saying that they actually get their internet supply from Portugal. It comes via underground wires through the sea from Portugal. I'm like, no wonder it keeps cutting out. No wonder it's so poor. Why on earth, you know, would Africa want to be getting its internet supply from Portugal? You know, this is, you know, what we're talking about when we're talking about the need for us to completely rethink and redesign, you know, our industries that to ensure that it's meeting our needs and it's fit for our purposes. You know, we need to be looking at doing business with each other instead of continuing, you know, the former colonial structures that existed before. That, you know, it's like, you know, this beast that feeds off of us, you know, and we just continue to feed it with all of our resources, all of our minerals and everything. And then they feed us back all these finished products that we just buy, you know, without even questioning. No, it's time for us as a continent and as a people, you know, to become truly independent. Our freedom fighters, you know, our revolutionary freedom fighters, they did the works that needed to be done, you know, to get to get us independent to a certain extent. But now we need to be independent economically. We need to be independent of their legal systems. We need to be independent of their education system. We need total independence. That's what we need as a people. And we have to recognize as well that for as long as we continue utilizing our brain and our energy, you know, to feed their system, we're doing it to our detriment and our demise as well. And so, you know, we've got a works that need to be done. My panel members keep dropping out. That we will press on. Let's, yeah, we hear you loud and clear on that, Najir. You know, we need to be getting our energy supply locally, our food locally, our clothes locally, our education needs to be provided for us, by us. We are grown now, you know, we need to move the next step, move on to the next level of our independence. Let's bring back in Dr. Abu at this stage. Welcome back, Dr. Abu.
Budum family, Budum.
Budum.
Rise up to Dr. John and Sister Sheila, you know, Kwame, you know, Queen Naja, and yourself, you know. All what you're saying, you know, see, is vital to the argument, you know. But they always say that well done is better than well said. And we have a lot of well said amongst us, you know. Look at brother Dr. John. To what Dr. John is heading for, you know, he need our support, he need our protection, because he up against a force there. And we don't realize that the benefit of whiteness only bring blindness and dumbness and deafness to us. You understand? So what Sister Sheila is talking about, we can't run with the European narrative of success, because the European narrative of success is totally different from mine. You understand, you know? How they see things, you know, is totally different from how we see things, you know? And we have to realize that we have to get out of the high praise and low productivity. You know, we lavish in this. We celebrate every weekend and nothing done. We just celebrate if we just celebrate and nothing done. And a set of people that celebrate every weekend and nothing done is a damn junkie blood. You know? What we have to say, people like Dr. John that come up to bring forth clean energy to their people. His life is in danger because others doesn't want that. Even the people that he's talking for is against it, because there's a belly politics that is running. You understand? A man will sell out his brother just for a pound of flour, and they know that. It's like we are in this country and you have certain political seat is safe seat. So they can just put anyone in it and I know that the seat is safe. Yeah? They can set up any factory in Africa and know that we'll be there buying it. You understand? We're talking about clean energy. You know? When the farmers go out there and they produce crop and the housewives and the woman them in that country won't buy that product because they want the product from France and all of them. So they themselves is not dealing with clean energy. You understand? You know, we have to start to look what we are putting in our pot. Because sometimes a lot of things that we are putting in the enemy in the pot. And we expect to have all of these clean energy things. You understand? So the whole thing we have to realize that what Sister Sheila is talking about, you know, is how we can give up our purpose for a position just to switch on a light. And at the same time, we electrocute the whole community. You understand? And this is what, you know, if we're going to talk about clean energy, we can't rule out the hemp. You know, a lot of hemp need to plant in Africa to help filter the air, to get clean up the place. You know, lot of product can come from the hemp if we're talking about doing renewable energy, or we can use it to ice in our home and all of these things. So let us look at on all of these things from an African perspective, because if we look on it from a European narrative, we ain't gonna get nowhere, and we only gonna prepare more space for them to come and more space for them to come and exploit us. So give thanks to all the panel members for their input into this. Vudum.
Vudum, Dr. Abu, give thanks as always for your input, and you know, also giving thanks to the viewers, our audience members who are participating in the chat as well. Panel members, if you want to jump in and pick out a question in the chat that you would like to respond to, just indicate to me and I'll bring you in so that you can do that. You know, our brother or sister off the grid here is, you know, concurring with what Dr. Abu was saying, and saying that, you know, hemp can make clothes, it can make homes, it can make energy. It's got a multiplicity of uses. Absolutely. Come in, Brother Kwame. Go ahead. I know there's a slight delay, but go ahead, Brother Kwame. Kwame, did you want to come in?
Yeah, yes, I wanted to come in, not necessarily to answer a question, but my network is disturbing a little bit, so I wanted to just have a chance real quickly to say a few things. I want to emphasize what Dr. Abu said. The issue of and another speaker said about the issue of ownership. I think it was Sister Naja who said, she spoke about ownership. I think it is very, very important. And when we talk about ownership, that is where we say that the small countries cannot stand the bullying of the you know, the bigger nations. So until we unify in that area, they will continue coming back, because we have seen yesterday, for example, the news came out that Uganda has just signed a $1 billion loan with the IMF. They approved a big loan. Well, you know, because the IMF, what we have to understand that these Bretton Woods institutions had been pushed out by China out of Africa, so they were not lending. And Ghana itself has signed a loan with Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank also, we know it is not from Africa, it's from Europe. We know this. So they are trying to come back. Actually, I have something in mind which says that this coronavirus is being used as a cover-up for these institutions to come back to Africa. Because China was the one who was now the lending king in Africa, was the loan king for the African countries. And these nations and these institutions had been pushed out of Africa. So they want to come back. They are using this as an excuse to come back and give loans. When you check, they gave a lot of loans when the outbreak had just started. That's Africa had not actually experienced so much devastation with the coronavirus. But when you check, when in April, by April, Africa was nowhere near devastation by coronavirus. But in April 2020, they rolled out, a COVID facility. They call this COVID relief fund. They gave all African countries loans. Countries like, for example, South Africa, they received $4.5 billion. Ghana received $1 billion. Kenya received around $750 million. Uganda received around $330 million, and they are still giving loans because this has been the tactic of the enslavement of Africa. This is how they have been depending on Africa. And for the last period, since 2008, there was an economic depression in the Western world, and they have been going down. We have seen the devastation. We have seen Europe. You can see Europe, what is happening. That Spain, countries like Spain, Portugal, they have been facing a lot of problems. In France, there has been a lot of demonstrations by people, workers unions, even Britain to some extent, Greece. There's a lot of problems. They have a lot of problems that their economies are going down. So they are looking for all ways of surviving. And for France, that one is really another case because it is holding on to Africa. Like this is their nature of being parasitic. When we go to the United States, we have seen that the infrastructure is devastated. You can go to the streets of Los Angeles. People are sleeping on the streets now in the United States. Homeless, people are becoming homeless. So the poverty is increasing and they are looking for ways of surviving, all means of surviving. These are parasites. So they are looking for ways of holding on to Africa. So we have to understand that they are coming back through the same institutions. And the only way we can fight them is to advocate for a united Africa. We cannot survive if we continue to emphasize the issue of Kenya, of Uganda, of Zimbabwe, South Africa, and work inside those small nations. We will not survive, my people. We cannot survive these people. So that is when the issue of ownership comes in, because when you look around, the banks, the financial institutions all over the continent are not owned by us. These energy companies, they are not owned by us. So all of them, they are coming to exploit, they are trying to come and exploit back Africa and take it back where they were in the colonialism era. Now, the demonstration of China is not that we should copy China and whatever it has done, but the demonstration by China is that alternatives exist. What do I mean by this? I mean in political systems and in an economic system. And in this, I think I'm emphasizing the point which Sister Sheila was making, that we need to explore the political systems, a new political system for Africa, a new economic system, a new social way of relating with ourselves. This hyper-individualism from the West has to be abandoned. We have to start to learn, we have to bring back the way of working together, which was there before the Europeans invaded us, the communal way of life. So this is how the new African state, these are the pillars on which the new African state is supposed to be built. Now, we have to understand that energy, renewable energy, is a policy, okay? Education, things like education is a policy. Industrialization is a policy. So industrialization, you cannot separate it from ownership. For example, when you are going to build renewable energy facilities or, systems to produce solar panels, so that is ownership. These are policies. That is an industrial policy. These policies on a large scale, they are not rolled out by individuals. We have seen what has happened in China, okay? These are policies that are rolled out by the state. If you want to achieve great leaps, what they call a great leap forward. China had a system which they call the great leap forward. So you have to lay the foundation and then you roll out these systems. teams, because an individual, I know I spoke about we as individuals doing whatever we can last time in our first debate, in our first contribution, in our first discussion. I think it was last week or around the beginning of the week. But I said that, I remember I said that we can do what we can. You can put solar panels on your house, but these are imported solar panels, which I was talking about. So as individuals, we only have enough resources and we can only do so much because we have limited resources. And individuals, as African individuals, as you have seen.
Oh, we have lost our brother Kwame. He said he's having internet problems, and as you can see, he was making such great points as well. Hopefully he will try and come back. So absolutely agree with what our brother was saying. As we can see, what's happening is, you know, China was coming into Africa in a really big way, rolling out loans. But in return for the loans, Africa, you know, was getting its infrastructure built, which was very different from the loan schemes that the West had been giving to Africa. And you know, we call it loans. We call it loans from the banks. They're not loans; they're debts. You know, every time Africa takes money from those institutions, it's putting itself in debt. And what is that money? That money is basically bits of paper, bits of colorful paper. And we are selling our country and our land for colorful bits of paper. They've got us into this economic mindset that's made us believe that we actually need their bits of paper for survival. It's absolutely crazy. So when we're talking about a complete paradigm shift, when we're talking about a new economic system and a new economic way of doing things, you know, we've got to be talking about trading amongst ourselves in such a way that, you know, we are not selling out the continent for bits of paper. Can you imagine, you know, in 2-3 generations time, when the whole of South Africa, I mean, they've already got 70% of it, but when the whole of South Africa belongs to the Europeans and our children say to us, how is it, you know, that South Africa is owned by Europeans? And the few that will say that they bought it with colorful bits of paper. Hey, come on, family, we've got to wake up. You know, Africa was rising pre-COVID. Africa was rising. Individual countries were actually outperforming the West. Individual countries, the GDP levels was outperforming. We had, 5 or 6 of the top performing countries. Okay, I know there are issues in terms of this, but the point I'm making is that Africa was doing fine pre-COVID. I agree with Brother Kwame. COVID was actually brought in as a cover to put African countries and the world back in debt, because out the European nations, their economies were collapsing. America's economy was collapsing. You know, the reality is that those countries are actually in hyperinflation, and, you know, Africa was actually growing. And the only one of the ways that they could put a continent back into debt was creating a situation and a scenario bigger than life that made those countries feel as though they had to rely on the West for the solutions, and they had to take their loans or they had to take their debts to put them back into debt again. You know, we've got to get rid of this economic system that we're part of. We need a new economic system as well. It's just in the same way we're talking about new energy system, we need a new economic system, a new system that allows us to industrialize, that allows us to develop, that allows us to grow and trade amongst ourselves without taking debt from the West, because we are putting our future generations into debt. And this is how parasites operate. They continue to find new ways to keep sucking our blood, you know, and the more we open up to these corporations, the more we allow them to come on our land. Are we not just proving that we don't learn from our history? Let me bring in Dr. John at this moment. Thank you, Brother Kwame. We'll come back to you again if we get the time. Dr. John, we haven't heard from you for a little while. Let's bring you in at this point.
Yeah, we're talking about the World Bank and the IMF and what vampires they are. So I can tell you about what they did in Jamaica. So when Jamaica was broke, the IMF and the World Bank were invited in, and this is why the World Bank helped Jamaica. I'll read it. It said, quote, by introducing a liquefied natural gas program. So their solution for Jamaica that was dependent on oil and had some of the most expensive electricity rates in the world, their solution was for us to move from oil to importing natural gas and completely ignoring sunshine, which they know has her payback period of 4 years, and completely ignoring wasted energy, which years before they said they could provide 18% of our energy from rubbish. So they said, no, their solution is move to importing American natural gas. And they also recommended as well for us to have a national ID card. Tell me how that's going to help the poor people, I don't know. Then the IMF came in, and of course, we all know what they did. Austerity, that's what they did. So they said, cut public sector jobs, cut wages, no investment, but you can spend, and the Jamaican government is good at spending. They bought cars, they built this, that, and whatever. They're building a $50 million parliament building at the moment that we don't need. So the island got no problem with spending. Then they also said tax everything that enters the country. Quite remarkable. Back in 2016 or 17, the country had 33 working ambulances for the entire country of nearly 3 million people. And then when you have your tourists come over as well. So you've got more than 3 million people on the island at any time. 33 working ambulances we had. The diaspora in Britain saved up 40 grand, sent us a used ambulance, and it sat in the Kingston Wharf for a year. You know why? Because the IMF said it's a gift. You have to bloody pay tax on it. Not only have to pay tax, the amount of tax they wanted was the value of the ambulance, £40,000 they wanted for it. So it sat there for a year. So right now they want us to tax. We're talking about renewable energy. They're telling us to tax the lithium batteries. The batteries that store the energy. You have to tax those as well. The other thing they said to do is hoard the money, so we can't invest. What they said is that all the money that comes in here, extra money, excess money, you have to save it up in something called the net international reserves. So during COVID, we had 3.2 billion. As COVID started, so they had to spend some of it. It went down to 2.7 billion in October, and now it's at 3.4 billion during COVID. We say when everybody else is spending money, not the Jamaican government, they're actually spending money on paying back debt. That's what using Jamaican people's money at the moment to do, pay back debt instead of using it on the people. So those are the kind of solutions that the IMF and the World Bank gave to Jamaica, and that's why we are struggling. That's why we're in the hole that we're in at the moment. And then the World Bank as well. I'm going to tell you what they said, how they helped Jamaica. They said the population of Jamaica has benefited from having greater energy security through the diversification of the energy matrix and reduced reliance on imported oil. The cheek of them. I mean, how does buying gas instead of oil give us energy security? We're still bloody buying it. We're still having to buy. Then the other thing they said was, it's reduced energy costs for the Jamaican population with the average tariff falling from 40 cents to around 23 cents per kilowatt hour. We haven't seen a dime of that saving. Our electricity prices have gone up and they're at record levels and they're still going up. We actually had a petition last year or beginning of this year, a petition because the prices are so high during COVID. And adding insult to injury, they've just applied for another increase. The private company that the private company that owns our energy supply, and that's what happens when you sell out your energy supply to foreigners, to the colonizers. This is what happened. And then of course you've got the IMF saying this is all fine, hunky dory. This is how you want our country to be run. And the worst thing about it is that we've got the UN as well, and the UN is here and they help them. Because the UN has made sure that we can't have renewable energy here. I sent off a proposal to the UNDP about solar powered schools, and they had no interest in it. They just stopped replying to me because they want solar in Jamaica to be owned again by the colonizers. So they're putting in solar panels into schools, so the schools won't have free energy. They'll still have to pay. They'll now pay the investor a leasing fee then for the solar panels instead of a school owning the solar panel.
Madness.
I'll finish there.
Absolute madness, you know. And if we, the ordinary people, so to speak, on the ground, can see the madness and the nonsense in the situation that we're facing, that's facing us, you know, why can't our leaders and our policymakers also see the madness? Why can they not come together and start doing better for the people? I mean, if we continue, you know, down this road on this trajectory, we are basically handing over our continent back into the hands of our former colonizers. And I don't think it's going, you know, it's going to take us 400 years again, you know, to wriggle ourselves out of it. So we really have to put a brakes on this nonsense. You know, I think they've done a very good job. You know, I'm not suggesting the Chinese were better than the British, but, you know, sometimes we have to see the politics and the games at play here. You know, not everyone could actually see that, you know, a lot of the videos and a lot of the work that was going into discrediting China, you know, was actually coming from the West itself, because they wanted to sever those relationships. They wanted to turn the population against China, because their biggest fear was that China was going to be coming in and replacing them and getting a bigger stronghold and foothold in the continent than they could get. And this, you know, for them would have been absolutely devastating. And so, you know, we saw the games, some of us saw the games that was being played, between the West and China. But neither of them are our friends. Neither of them are our friends. They're all coming to exploit. They're all coming to extract our resources, because, as we often say, you know, who rules Africa rules the world. And they know this. They absolutely know this. Let's go back around the panel. Sister Sheila, I don't think we've heard from you for a little while. Let's bring you back in here, my sis.
I give thanks that I've got so many things to say. I don't know where to begin from. I will begin from something that happened to my teacher yesterday. One of my teachers left America. He was born in America, second generation American. And he left. He now lives in West Africa, took his wife and children, and is in a country in West Africa. Yesterday, he sent a video to me of him being on a motorcycle. I did tell him I'll mention this here. So he could be watching as well. So if he is not sleeping, he said one thing going back to Africa, sleeping, he sleeps right on time when it's dark. He's living in an African village, not in a capital city. So what he did, he bought a motorbike. And he said it's easier to move with a motorbike in the village. So I asked him, have you ridden a motorcycle before? He said, no, I've never done it. And he said, everyone in the village, they just got the motorbike, and everyone taught each other. And everyone now moves with a motorbike in the village. None of them has ever gone to motorbike school. None of them has paid tax for the motorbike. None of them does everything, but they move around with the motorbike and they do their stuff. And he says he gives himself a week, and in a week's time, he will be an expert on riding these motorbikes. Accident rate is almost zero. Mm-hmm. So basically, I hold a license in motorcycling. I used to be a motorcyclist. I stopped because it became far too dangerous to ride on the London roads. There is a lot of rules to actually put any kind of vehicle on the London road. There is the road tax. There is the car tax itself. There is the paying fines when you're parking and all this. Mm-hmm. But you see, you buy into the system. You agree that this is what I want. And then you go somewhere like a town in an African village, same motorbike, same riding, you get on it, you ride it. You've not bought into the system. Dr. John has said about the World Bank, about the IMF, about the United Nations, with their pieces of paper, with their sanctions, saying, oh, we will not use the sun, we'll use this and use that. He's also mentioned there are around 3 million people when he was mentioning about the ambulances, and said there are 300 million people. So this piece of paper has been signed by one person, and the people overseeing this piece of paper could be at most 100, over 3 million. 3 million are sitting and complaining, letting Dr. John Lennon to be here, to be the one hurt by what's happening, but the rest of them are just sitting. At one point, we stop blaming people saying they're doing this, and we start asking ourselves, what are we doing about this? It is us that are being affected. And we've got the number. We've got the power. The power is always with the people until you give it away to a piece of paper that you did not sign, that you are not consulted, that is not working for you. Why? What are you doing about it? So these are the things that we also have to stop crying and take matters in our own hands. Just the same way people in a village somewhere decided we need to move from point A to point B, and we can use motorcycles. We are getting motorcycles, we're riding them. Regardless of whatever paperwork that says what, we're doing it. We have to reach at that point whereby we say, this is what we want, and go for it. What IMF says, what UN says, what World Bank says, that is them. We should not now start giving power to them. This is a different mindset I'm bringing in it, saying that we always don't need to buy into these things that come from the enemy, especially when the enemy has shown you time and time again that when they come to you, it is not with your interests at heart. It is with their own interest. They are looking at what can we get out of this. So once we know that these people are always saying, what can we get out of this? We should not sign up. We should not do anything with them. We shouldn't even try to say, let us negotiate a better package with them. It's like trying to negotiate with a narcissist and trying to see, let me see if I can outwit a narcissist in a narcissistic game. You will not. You will not pass. You'll fail. Don't just play the game altogether. My grandparents kept livestock. The word parasite has been mentioned in this conversation several times. He kept livestock. And we had this parasite called a tick. Najar, you know tick, coupe.
Yeah.
When it sticks on the skin, on the hide of a cow, and fills up with blood, it looks very red and gorged. It does not get out. Even if you try to pull it, it will not get out. It would rather burst open than get out. We're dealing with parasites. They are not going to get out by us trying to pull or us trying to negotiate. They need that blood. They need to suck us dry. So we are not going to sit there and trying to negotiate with them, or we're not going to sit there and thinking, let's find ways in which the parasites are not going to drink our blood. It does not work like that. That parasite should not be in that hide. Get rid of that parasite in whichever way you can. Kwame mentioned something to do with ownership. And that ownership, Najar mentioned it as well, that ownership is what we are lacking as an African people. And this ownership, it is something that we cannot get in adulthood. This ownership has to be something that is inculcated in us. It has to be something that is cultivated in us right from childhood. Now, in my culture, we used to have this ownership of the land put in us in childhood at birth. There were things that used to be done at birth, like where they buried your umbilical cord, where they buried your placenta, where you were born itself, the people present when you were born, who carried you first, what name you were given. All these things made you belong to the land. The land was part of you. You had vested interest in the land. You were tied to that land, not only physically, mentally, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually. So you grew up knowing this land is mine. I belong here. If you touch this land, you have touched me. When these things happen, we did not have to teach ownership. We did not have to teach unity. Because if all of us in a particular place, our placentas are buried in the same place, our umbilical cords are buried in the same place, our birth waters are buried in the same place, our people, things happen in the same place, no one will start telling us about unity. No one will start telling us about patriotism. No one will start telling us about protecting that land. We knew this was our land and it was in our interest to protect that land. That way, no foreigner will come with their pieces of paper and pens and say, we are the World Bank, we sit in Geneva, or we sit in here, could you sign here? We would first of all ask, where is his umbilical cord buried? Where is his placenta buried? We start from there. Right now, we have lost all that because these foreign religions came and told us this is not necessary. So right now, We don't know what dustbin or what laboratory or what place where did the umbilical cords go? Did the placentas go? We have no idea. So we are not tied to the land. And that is why you find our own people right now in Kenya. I speak of Kenya. We have our own people selling land to foreigners, to oppress us. When I say foreigners, I'm not talking about fellow Africans. There's no foreigner. An African cannot be a foreigner in Africa. But then to oppressors, we are selling land. And this reminds me of something that Najar one day said in a WhatsApp group. She said, Najar, you said this. I don't know if you remember. Najar said, the same way you cannot sell women is the same way you cannot sell land. Land should not be sold. Now we are selling this land because we do not have ownership. So we ourselves, and because we bought into capitalism, which is greed. Capitalism is just based on greed, nothing else. It's greed. So because we are greedy, we will sell this land to the highest bidder. And as it is right now, the highest bidder is the oppressor. So the oppressor will come to that land and he will capitalize it. That is why we have Portuguese owning power in Kenya, wanting to play what Najar read for us earlier. It is purely because they were sold those rights to come to Kenya. So they are there because some piece of paper somewhere that the people in Kenya were not consulted, that piece of paper that ties down to Microsoft, someone signed there, and it comes down to people not having ownership because that Kenyan, because there was a Kenyan that actually allowed this to happen, that Kenyan, probably a leader who's supposed to represent the interests of the people, has no ownership of the land. Clearly, that person, wherever his placenta was done, we do not know where it was. So some of these solutions, we don't look at them from the symptoms. When we have our own people allowing oppressors coming in, that is a symptom. So rather than us just dealing it with this from the symptom, we have to go to the root cause. What is causing all this? And we say it's lack of ownership. What is causing this lack of ownership is lack of grounding into the ways that we are, into our cultures, because we are taking into culture of the foreigner. So what do? Go back to our culture, which is look at how ownership was done then. So how do we do? Every birth from now onwards, we have to do it this way and that way and that way. And when we start, we are now bringing in a new crop of people. We are now bringing in a new generation. And they say that the children heals the generation, both of the past and the future. So we are having these children healing us all without us. And these are the things we don't need permission. We don't need to go to WHO or to IMF or whatever and tell them, oh, by the way, we have started burying our placentas back, or, we've started doing this to the umbilical cords. No, these are things that we speak in the community amongst ourselves and just start doing them, And these are the things that change the whole narrative. These are the things that we start doing little by little, and we start planting those seeds today. So there is a multi-pronged approach here. So we will have Dr. John and Kwame doing these things at that, this is whereby we approach, remember, these things at that level, whereby they are saying, we're going to fight this, we're going to wake up our people, we're going to question why this was done, we're going to have petition, we're going to have that. That is needed. Stopping those symptoms from growing bigger is needed. Then we need people like Najar, who are the womb healers, who are helping birthing mothers. We need Najar to come and have all these young women and say, this is how we give birth. This is what we do with the birth products. This is what, and we have this. So we are approaching the problem from everywhere. Because this is a problem that is not only solved now. This is a problem that the same way we talked about the mango tree that is planted today, that is eaten by future generations, or that was planted by past generations that we are eating today. This is again a problem that we start solving today for future generations to benefit from it. And there is no way we can escape this by only approaching one way. It has to be multi-pronged. Everyone from everywhere is coming in. Because one thing as an African people, we do not look at things as a singular, isolated thing. We are not the people that you go to the hospital and say, I have a headache, and they say, treat your head this way. We're the people that say, okay, what happened in your family? How is this? How is this? We're looking at it holistically. So even this problem of renewable energy, it's a holistic issue. We look at it from all angles, including how are these children being born now? How are they being raised? How are they being named? How are the pregnancies being carried? As we still look at what is IMF doing, what is World Bank doing? And sometimes when it reaches somewhere, when things simply don't make sense, we just refuse to partake in them and do things our own way. We also have to know we don't have to ask for permission from them. We don't have to say that because this sign said this, we have to do this way. Sometimes we just say, you know what? I was not consulted. I'm not dealing with it. Just as I said, people are riding motorbikes somewhere comfortably, going about their lives without ever having gone to a motorbike school. I give thanks, my people.
We give thanks to you, Sister Sheila, as always. You know, so good to hear your contribution to the discussion. Powerful, says Super Ank in the group, and I even had someone say, "Sister Sheila for AU." Hey, ditto. I endorse that as well. You know, it's so true. All of what you was just saying there, Sister Sheila. You know, that connection that we had with the land, we allowed others whose culture was different from ours, you know, to convince us that our culture and that our practices and our ways of life was somehow inferior, somehow, you know, should be looked down upon. And so many of our people have abandoned, you know, our traditions, which was so important. And you've just given a classic example of the importance of the umbilical cord, you know, and the importance of the placenta being buried on the land, and the connection that gave us as a people to the land, and how that has been lost. And also, my sis, if you think about what's happening in place of that, you know, we have been, you know, indoctrinated into believing that the best place to have our children is in the hospitals. And so all the pregnant mums then go to the hospitals to have their children. And what's going on in the hospitals? They're being vaccinated. Our children are getting, you know, all sorts of disabilities and polio, and some are dying at birth. The mothers are dying at birth at a rate that never used to happen when the midwives used to give birth to the children at home, you know. And also it's a form of control, because when you give birth in the hospitals, they know the number of children that are being born. They know the homes that they're being born to. They're registering those children. They're taking, you know, they're calculating what income they can get from that child over the course of their life. I mean, we don't realize that even by having our children in their hospitals, we're actually putting ourselves into a system that is not conducive to us as a people. You know, Najir, let me allow you to come in here, because quite a lot of what Sister Sheila was saying just there touches on your area, you know, as a woman who brings children into the world, and, you know, knows the importance of reconnecting us, you know, the importance of the placenta, you know, and as Sister Sheila was saying, what's happening to our placenta in the hospitals? We know they're ending up in medicines. We know that they're using it to test our DNA. They're using it to come up with medicines and viruses that may not necessarily be in our interest. We are in such a vulnerable position as a people, and we don't even realize it, because we are blindly following the culture that belongs to, you know, someone else, and it's not our own. Sister Najir, let me bring you in here. We're 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. Let me give you a few of those minutes, my sis.
Thank you so much, Sister Shanice. Thank you so much, Sister Sheila. Yes, what you say about placentas is very true. And I think that is a topic which I would like Sister Shanice to bring up for a full 2 hours. I can't even begin to start right now, because it is so involving. It's also a topic which our men will have to understand. And we can't do that in 10 minutes. No, we can't do that in 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. So to close, I just wanted to say something which was brought to my attention by the same government which is robbing us. We have not been thinking very clearly about our governments, but our governments have become agents of IMF and World Bank. They're part of the system. So those leaders over there are not for the people, neither were they chosen by the people. I mean, every time we have, what do they call them? Elections. They're not really elections. We always hear of some disorder in the different countries. When you join all the dots together, the orders are all very, very similar and they follow a certain pattern, which means that these are strings which are being pulled from another source. There's a comment which keeps coming in that Sheila should be president of the AU, but please understand that the AU is the African puppet for the EU, nothing else. It is not independent on itself. No, it's just a puppet for the EU, 100%. And the money comes from the EU. It's a fronting. It's just a blackface for a white entity. So what I'm going to share here is something which happened in our country, Kenya, where the government has it controls the electricity by a company which is called Kenya Power and Lighting Company Limited. Sister Sheila, you know about it. Everyone who is Kenyan knows about this, okay? So this entity is controlled by the government and by a particular family in the government. And it gives power to the whole of the country. That's we're 55 million people. That's quite a monopoly, right? So you would think that maybe they would let other people come in and, you know, provide power. It doesn't happen. Then something very interesting happened last year, where the same company started, if you hooked up onto solar power, they would come in and start charging you a fee for hooking up onto solar power. And I didn't understand this until I read a report where it said that the Kenya Power Company has lost 54% of its consumers to solar power.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, that's good. Until I looked at who the owners of the solar power were. And guess what? Aha! So now we have a fully Kenyan company which has lost its power production to what? A foreign investor. So we're right back into neocolonialism. And people are not thinking about this. They're just thinking, oh, you know, it's good. We should move this way. We should move that way. And now the same puppets are getting bit in their own asses by these same colonialists under a different name. It's not new. They call it neocolonialism. It's not new. It's the same. Okay, my name is Naja and I'm out.
Rise up, Sister Naja. And, you know, goes back to what we were saying. These foreigners, they're coming in with their colorful bits of paper that they're calling money, and they're using these colorful bits of paper to take over entire industries, to buy land, you know, to buy power, to buy influence on the continent. And our so-called misleaders, you know, are allowing it to happen. And the reality is that these people have lots of pretty color paper. They can print pretty colorful paper all day, all night in their industrial houses, their print houses, up and down every one of their countries. We have to stop giving the value of our wealth in exchange for their colorful bits of paper. That is also the root cause of our problem. And another mistake that we make is calling these parasites investors. They're not coming to invest. They're coming to take over. They're coming to take control. They're coming to seize land. They're coming to seize resources. They're coming to seize our wealth. They're coming to ensure that we don't grow and we don't develop and we don't prosper as a people. They are not investors. They're acting in the interest of their own country. We've got to change the language on this as well. Rise up, family. Couple of minutes to Dr. Abu, who we haven't heard for a little while. Dr. Abu, let me give you a couple of minutes here to give us some closing remarks for today.
Good am I. You know, sometimes we mistake leadership for pimp for leadership. These people that we call in leadership, they're a bunch of pimps. And they pimp the people. You understand? This is what I'm saying, you know. We need a proper intelligence department in Africa and the Caribbean that is there for our people. You understand? Because a true leader will set up laws to protect the people from the government. But these corrupted government, they set up laws to protect the government from the people. I'm telling you, we should all go to our Babalawo and pour libation that they all drop dead. If we wake up tomorrow morning and all those leaders in Africa drop dead, we will have a celebration. They all should drop dead. And I leave it as that. And I ain't apologize to none of them because they're a bunch of pimps. Those in the Caribbean, especially that one Oldness, he must just drop down dead because he's a goddamn pimp. You understand? As a matter of fact, he's a fish. And this is the behavior of fish. These little man them who doesn't even know if they're a man or a woman. They are sick in their self. And this is what they are. Let's go to bed tonight and pray that the ancestor wipe out all of those little suckers off the planet. Voodoo.
Voodoo, rise up, Dr. Abu. Let's get some closing remarks from Dr. John Lennon, if he can stop laughing there. Yeah.
Well said, bro.
Family joke. Yeah. Dr. Abu giving a family joke. Rise up, Dr. Abu, every time. A true talk, you know, some of these people that, you know, hey, Dr. John, let's bring you in here.
Yeah, well, I am trying to take some kind of action in Jamaica, and if people do want to help and see what's going on, they can contact me on my website. It's called Let's Build a Better Jamaica.com. And so it's linked to Twitter, Facebook. So you can contact me there to see what's going on.
Yeah. Rise up, my brother. Please type out your web address and I'll post it in here as well. And put it in the description. Rise up, rise up. Sister Sheila, let's hear some closing remarks from you, my sis.
I give thanks. It's been an honor. It's always a great time to come here. Dr. Abu's prayer has been taken note. I will definitely pray that it comes to pass. Dr. Lennon, Dr. Lennon, I celebrate you. You do a good job for our people. I celebrate you. So I will do pray as well that you keep on getting the energy and we keep on supporting you in the same prayer. Dr. Abu's prayer will also have to be done because that is a hindrance. We have hindrance on our part. So, Vudam, my people, I give thanks.
Vudum. And, you know, family, do research the prayer that the Haitians, that our people in Haiti did before, you know, they conquered the powerful Portuguese, Spanish, French, and British armies, you know, a powerful prayer. And it was an African voodoo prayer that they did. And we have to remember the power, you know, of our voodoo, the powers, you know, just like they've taken away, you know, the connection that we had with the land, they've taken away the connection that we had with our spirit as well, you know, where we got our true power from. And so we really need to reconnect, with the true essence of who we are as a people. Our oppressors have been very clever, in taking our attention away from what is really, really important and putting it on the colorful bits of paper that they have all of us concentrating, or nearly all of us concentrating too much of our energy on, so that we can be part of this slippery pole of a capitalist system, but we are aiming to take back our minds, take back control of ourselves, our countries, our nations, our continent. We want total independence as a people. We want to be independent of their economies, dependent of their industries, dependent, of their education systems, their medical systems. We want total independence, independent of their legal framework and their legal structures as well, that protects the rich, protects the corporations, and does nothing to help and support the poor. We need total independence of the people. This is a new day. And we need to realize as a people that we need to wake up and seize the moment. Because if we continue down the road that we're going down, we would have learned absolutely nothing at all from our history. And we wouldn't even realize that we are blindly, unconsciously walking back to enslavement. So family, for everyone in the audience, I want to thank you so, so much for watching. Thank you so, so much for being part of the discussion and the debate through your the contributions that you've been making in the chat. Please, everyone, tell someone about this show. We're going to be back next strong, same time next strong, 8 p.m. UK time. Rise up, Bookman Dottie, rising up, Tucson Loja, rise up, Desdelines, rising up, all of our freedom fighter, Kenneth Nounda, Patrice Lomba. We want to rise them all up, rise them all up, and rising you all up as well, and rising up the spirit of the great ones. My brother John will put your details in the description below this video as well. So for now, we're out of here. Panel, Dr. Abu, Sister Najat, our queens, Sheila, Najat, Dr. John, thank you all so, so much for being part of this wonderful discussion and debate where we keeping it real. We're talking it as it is. This is a new day. It's a time for do what we want to. As Sister Sheila was saying, don't wait for permission. Just do it. We don't have to buy into what they're subscribing to. Let's do our own thing. Save the seeds, plant some trees. We're going to need those trees, and our future children are going to need those trees. These people got some wicked plans for us. Anyway, we have so much talk for talk, but more time next strong. More love, peace and love. Vodum family, we're out of here for now. Vodum. So have we ended our broadcast?